Okay, I'll try not to speak too long in this one because the last video I spoke for 26 minutes, which was quite a long time. Um, I want to talk about an issue that's provoked quite a lot of debate in this country over the past few months, and it concerns the footballer Ched Evans. I don't always weigh in on these sort of high-profile trials. I don't necessarily like doing that, but if there is a legitimate point of debate, and yeah, I just want to share my view on it, because this is one where I am objective in the sense that I do see both sides. I think there's legitimate arguments on both sides. So basically, Ched Evans is a footballer who was convicted of rape. He served his time and he's been released. And now the controversy lies in the fact that Premier League football is contemplating signing him up again. I believe Oldham Athletic has done so, in fact. Simon Kellner in The Independent made a compelling case for him to be reinstated and argued that he had served his time and the hounding must stop. And going back to the days of Magna Carta in this country, we have had a concept of fairness, that is, that what Mr. Kellner is arguing is that it's punitive to make a case that someone who has already served time for a crime should continue to be stigmatised and hounded. Now, about the crime itself, just to be clear, there's nothing trivial about rape, and I think that it is a terrible crime. And it's worth noting that Ched Evans has showed no remorse. Now, he hasn't shown any remorse because in his mind he's innocent. He has argued continuously and that he was guilty of being unfaithful to his partner, but not of rape. And he is adamant that he did not commit rape and that the sex with this woman was consensual. That is, of course, a very important point, but for the time being we have to accept that he was tried in a court of law, he had due process, and he was found guilty. So we have to assume that he's not telling the truth. Of course, miscarriages of justice do happen, but I don't know his guilt. I don't know if he is guilty or not. I believe there have been innocent men who have been falsely accused, but that doesn't mean every man who says he's innocent actually is innocent. So the fact that he was found guilty in a court of law, we have to accept that the majority of rape cases actually doesn't result in a conviction. So when there is a case that does, I don't think it's appropriate to say, oh well, he must be telling the truth. So for the time being, and for what it is, we have to take this on the surface that he is guilty. That's the first thing. Until he can prove that the sex was consensual, then I think that is what it is. It's not his word against hers. This was in a court of law. He was found guilty, so he is a rapist. He's a convicted rapist, according to the law. That's the first thing. He says, like I say, he's guilty of being unfaithful. He apologised to his partner, but he insists the sex was consensual. I don't think any actual rapist would actually admit that they done it, so that's a point worth considering. But anyway, the issue here is whether or not he should be allowed back into professional football. Now, there are those who will say that he is being rewarded despite having been a convicted criminal for a very serious crime. Rewarded in the sense that he's going to get a very big salary, even if it's reduced from what he was making before. He's still going to get a much higher salary than the average Tom, Dick or Harry. And some will say that's very unfair after what he has done. But there's another side to it, which is that he is being scrutinised and hounded more than the average rapist would be. So for example, if a bin man or a painter or a DIY man rapes a woman, he would hopefully be punished, but he wouldn't escape he wouldn't get the sort of scrutiny that Ched Evans is getting, because the average rapist isn't famous. The average rapist is a low-life scumbag. If Ched Evans is a rapist, I have no hesitation in calling him a scumbag if he's guilty. Like I say, he was found guilty in a court of law, so he's a convicted rapist, that's what he is. In terms of whether or not he should be allowed to play professional football, the argument that Simon Kellner was making, and there was an opposing argument in the paper as well, I forget the woman who was making that argument, I'm sure she made very valid points as well. And that's why I say I honestly think there's valid points on both sides. The argument he was making was that he has served his time, and we need a criminal justice system that punishes the guilty, but it isn't sort of about retribution. In other words, revenge. So I think what Simon Kellner was getting at is that the continuous hounding of Ched Evans and the stigmatising of him is sort of continued punishment. Now, of course, there is also a valid argument to be made that something like rape isn't trivial, and probably the sentence he got doesn't reflect the lifelong suffering of his victim. Because if she did have sex against her will, then she's going to traumatise for the rest of her life. So she's got a life sentence in that sense. But realistically, are we saying then that if someone is punished and they're released into society that they should be not allowed any job? Well, I do not believe that he should be allowed to play for a major club. But whilst I'm no expert on football, I don't think Oldham Athletic is a major club. Now, shoot me down if I'm wrong about that, but it's not a Manchester United or a Arsenal or something like that. Am I wrong about that, football fans? I don't know. I'm completely ignorant about football, so I don't know if it's a major club or not. But if it is, that obviously means that he's in a more lucrative position. And anyway, I say both sides. I believe that if he is a convicted rapist, I don't think he should be allowed to enjoy the privileges of top-level football where he would be making millions. I think that would be morally repugnant. But at the same time, I don't believe that he should be hounded for the rest of his life because he committed a terrible crime. And that's not an excuse for what he done. It's just a reflection that we cannot have a justice system that's based on revenge. However, having said that, the fact that he hasn't shown remorse has to be taken into consideration. But I'm just hesitant about this case because I just don't know if he's guilty or not. And the problem with a crime like rape is it is so difficult to determine. It's not like where you have a gang that is caught on CCTV violently mugging someone and that is clear cut. I know this is a controversial thing to say, but rape is not a black and white issue, in the sense that, and I guess I will bring it into this video because it is something that is worth really bringing out there. There is a tendency now in aspects of the media and in society that if anybody talks about rape in anything other than outright condemnation, then they're sort of seen as, oh well, you're justifying it. I think this is wrong because I think it is legitimate to debate how we define rape, precisely because it is such a serious crime. Now, in my mind, rape is forcing sex on somebody who doesn't want it. I do not believe that rape is if two people sleep together and person A, more likely a woman than the man, but sometimes men as well, in the case of gay rape, but if person A, a woman then regrets having slept with a man, maybe because she's cheated on her boyfriend, and let's not pretend that doesn't happen, then she regrets it. So instead of admitting that she's cheated on her boyfriend, she alleges rape. Now, I believe in cases like that, there needs to be some serious scrutiny. I really do. When we think of rape, there tends to be, I think there's a sort of instant reaction whereby we think of, if you think of the French film Irreversible with Monica Bellucci, it's a film from I think 2002, a very brutal film. There's a scene where Monica Bellucci is brutally raped in an alleyway. Now, I think that is the public perception of what rape is. But rape in this country is also defined as, well, actually, I don't think there is a clear definition, and I think that is a problem. And I don't think that is at all the same as trivializing it. I believe that having sex with someone against your will is abhorrent, and that to me is rape. But I do not believe that if two adults, for example, get drunk and the woman regrets it the next day and she alleges rape, I don't believe she has a strong case if she can't prove it. If she can't prove that there was sex without consent. I really do think there are mitigating factors. Now, I don't know the details of the Ched Evans case, but I'm just saying this, well, I'm including it in the same video, but I don't want people to think I'm making excuses for Ched Evans. I'm not. And let me just be clear, in absolutely no way am I saying there is anything, so you know, I'm not saying there's different levels of rape. Rape is rape. But what I'm saying is we should clearly define what rape is. And that should be clearly defined as sex without consent. But I do believe there are black and grey areas in this country whereby there is a question mark, i.e. if two people have been drunk and the woman regrets it, and then she turns around and says she's been raped, or if it's her word against his. Now, there have been cases in this country, and this has to be said, whereby a woman has alleged rape against multiple men, and multiple men have said the same stories, men who didn't know each other. Now, I don't want to give the impression that is very common, because that would be doing a disservice to actual rape victims. And women who might be watching this video who have been a victim of that, please don't think I am at all making any excuses. I think rape is a heinous crime. I think forcing sex against someone against their will is heinous. And like I say, we have to assume Ched Evans' guilt because he was found guilty in a court of law. But I just think that I think it is legitimate to debate how we define rape. Not debate rape itself, not debate that rape is wrong. That's different. And you know, there are some men out there who try to trivialize rape itself, but that's not the same as debating what rape is. And this is a problem. I don't think people differentiate between the two. Debating how we define rape, which is important in legislation, and then trying to make excuses for rape. There are no excuses for rape. Rape is heinous. It's awful. And it damages someone for life, not just the time it's happened. But because it is such a serious crime, and because unlike other crimes, you can't have a CCTV camera in someone's bedroom, and most rape cases actually are in those sort of circumstances rather than in a back alley. You know, I know women's groups would absolutely blast me for this video and say that I'm making excuses. Please don't think that I'm not. I cannot emphasize enough, I think rape is heinous. All I'm saying is we need to clearly define what it is. What it is, what should be defined as, in my opinion, is sex against someone's consent. All I'm saying is there are areas where it is grey, especially if alcohol is involved. Now, like I said, I don't know the details of the Ched Evans case. I do know that he insists it was consensual, but you know, that doesn't mean he's telling the truth. For all we know, he could be an outright liar. So people who are slavishly defending Ched Evans should consider that. Criminals often are liars, so you know, it's highly unlikely an actual rapist would come out and say, "Oh yeah, I done it and I'm sorry." It's much more likely they would make excuses. But there is another issue in this country, which is the issue of naming defendants before they've even been found guilty. This is different, and I'm sorry to keep sort of crossing over with the Ched Evans case. I am talking about the Ched Evans case, but I'm also talking about broader issues. I think it is absolutely wrong that someone's named before they've even been found guilty or innocent. I think that's utterly wrong. I know there is an argument that naming a defendant then means other victims can come forward, and I think there is a fair enough argument with that, but I still think it doesn't justify stigmatizing someone before they've even been found guilty. I think that's just utterly wrong. I believe both defendant and accuser should remain anonymous until the trial is concluded. Um, and then, if the rapist is named once the trial's concluded, if other women feel that it's the man who raped them, then there could be another trial, and he could go on trial for those offences. But I don't think someone should be named before they have been tried. I think that goes against the very principle of fairness. So anyway, in conclusion, my view on the Ched Evans thing is that I don't think he should be punished for life. But at the same time, I don't think he should be given the opportunities that other men who haven't raped innocent women would be given. I don't think he should be allowed to play at top level. And if he insists that he's innocent, I think it's up to him to prove that, and his defence team to prove that, and they obviously didn't do so. So we have to assume that he was guilty. In which case, I have no sympathy with him. Rape is a despicable crime. Let me know your thoughts on this, because it is a polarising issue. I'm trying to be objective here, and I'm trying to see both sides, and I don't want anyone to think I'm making excuses for him, because I'm not. Okay, thanks for watching.